Is this just another video complaining about Companion? No, we're not here to jump on the bandwagon or beat that drum just whining, because if you've been to the channel before, you know you come here for reasonable, well thought out takes, not just a bunch of whining, usually. And like just about everything Wizards has done, there's pros and cons to it, and that includes Companion. So, let's get into it. What I have liked about Companion, and I'm going to be honest, there's not much that I have liked about Companion, but in Limited, it's felt fun. Generally speaking, it's been fun, and that could be because when you're playing it, you often win a lot of games. And what's not to like about winning a lot of games because of how strong and powerful, overpowered the mechanic is? Yeah. And playing against it, if you end up winning a game against someone playing Companion, it feels like you just climbed Mount Olympus because of the massive advantage they had, and yet you still pulled it out. That's a very thin silver lining to that argument, though. I will say my favorite example, or my favorite just memory of playing with Companion, was when we were streaming. We were the featured content creator for Wizards that day, and I forced a Lurrus deck. Pack one, pick one, forced Lurrus to be our companion. And it was just this fun, janky, cycling, wannabe kind of deck. We won a few games with it, and we should have won a lot more if it wasn't for the Arena Shuffler, said every person who's ever lost on Arena. But it was just fun. It wasn't overpowered. It wasn't oppressive. It was a unique way to try and win a game of Magic. So in that regard, it has been fun. It's been fun in its confines of Limited and trying some new things and playing around some new strategies I haven't really done before. But that's probably the most I've enjoyed it from a gameplay perspective. The other thing I've liked is that it's really Wizards just trying some new stuff, and it's hard for me to fault Wizards for trying new ideas and new things. So in that regard, I kind of cut them some slack. This was a new thing, kind of. And the third thing, really the last thing that I've enjoyed about Companion, is what it's taught me from a designer's perspective, as well as just where I stand in what I like and do not like when playing Magic and certain formats of Magic. But that's going to then bring me into my more negative viewpoints on the mechanic Companion. And that first thing is that Companion just feels painfully reminiscent of Commander. So Wizards, if anyone out there is watching, if there's one thing I would like you to take away from this video, it's let us be okay with keeping those two worlds separate. I get that Commander is a insanely popular, probably the keystone format of Magic at the moment, and probably for the foreseeable future, but I want to be okay with leaving what works in one format to that format and not trying to make it ubiquitous across the game or present in every other format. What makes me hesitant is that you can have too much of a good thing, and maybe having that guaranteed card is fun in a generally casual social format, but then trying to bring it into another format like competitive, constructed, standard, and or modern, legacy, etc., it just feels like it's overkill. So yeah, where I've landed with Companion is in Constructed, just really not a fan. In Limited, sure, it's fine. It gives you some fun, unique ways to play the game, generally speaking. But with Constructed, it just feels like having a Companion zone or any guaranteed card here zone is going to be at either end of the power spectrum, where it's just negligible and completely forgettable, or it is at the most powerful option in the meta, and you're essentially going to put quite a damper on the format if it's legal, and it's going to be so good that it warps the format or commands a ban. I guess my other reason is from a flavor perspective. Magic is all about the Wizards casting the spells that made the cut to be in their library, so isn't like every creature kind of a companion? Like it was good enough, it was deemed good enough to make the cut for your super fun or competitive or janky brew. Couldn't we see every creature in that deck as your companion into battle? So I guess my first main reason is I just don't like it for the consistency factor. It feels awkward to me in Limited, in Constructed. It just feels misplaced. It feels like something that I've enjoyed in Commander, but just hasn't translated to me for Constructed. The other reason is I feel the flavor argument is just rather weak. You could go either way with it, but I think that's more just whatever opinion you have, you can find a way to justify it from a flavor perspective, but I don't think that there's a strong enough reason to bring it into the game that it adds anything new or feels like it's adding to the format or longevity of the game. And lastly, I think Companion was rolled out without enough of a drawback. The fact that you get a guaranteed card in your hand, that is an engine for your deck, that cannot be thought seized or removed, can be countered. Of course, blue can do everything. But the fact that you're only really giving up a sideboard card feels Like, that's probably the biggest criticism I would throw at Wizards, is that from a playtesting perspective, you have to imagine that giving someone an extra card and a guaranteed extra card at the ready that's somewhat protected is a very strong thing to do. And putting a deck restriction on whatever's being built is either going to make it, again, at either end of the power spectrum, where it's negligible and lets it be the most powerful thing out there, or it's going to be such a restriction on the deck that it's just never going to be used. So no one's going to try and make it work. It doesn't feel like anywhere near as significant of a drawback as I think it demands. And for my opinion, I think starting with 6 cards and your companion is still not enough of a drawback, because you have a guaranteed card in your starting 7 that you're probably going to want in every starting hand. And there's no way to interact with it. There's no way to deal with it besides hopefully having a counter spell at the ready, which is, I mean, it's just a huge advantage to anyone playing with it. So I may knock Wizards for not having a bigger drawback on something that feels very significant and limited, but also can be taken advantage of even more in Constructed. But I'm not going to knock them, because I still like the idea of them trying something new, seeing what works and what doesn't work, and if nothing else, just teaching us what we all like or don't like in different formats of Magic. And I think it's important to note what Companion has really driven home, for me at least, is how incredibly difficult it is to introduce a new idea or mechanic into the game of Magic in a balanced manner. I mean, you are walking on the razor's edge. And Morrow made similar points, which I got to give Morrow, a shout out here, because he's really been on the front lines of communication, trying to be as transparent about why things were made and decisions made as much as he can. And in doing that, he's really subjected himself to some really ignorant people and angry people on the internet. That's not me, is it? No, I mean, I appreciate the fact that Morrow is so forthcoming and so willing to talk with people, at least try and talk to people about what's going on in the world of Magic and developing new sets and all that stuff. I mean, I get it. I can only imagine how difficult it is to be pumping out these new sets multiple times a year that are fun, limited environments that are going to shake up Constructed, give us cards that are powerful or fun or exciting, ones that we're excited to play with but also add to our collection. I mean, there's so many variables at play that you're trying to balance. It's not easy. I definitely cannot, in no way would I ever disagree with that. But then where does that leave us? And I think for me, it leaves me with this mindset of going back to another comment that Morrow's made, which is restriction breeds creativity. And I think the problem with Companion is that it's not a creative solution. It said, here's the box I'm supposed to stay in. Just kidding. I've created a new box. It's called Companion. Isn't it fun? Don't you all like it? It's just like Commander. It's great. Nope. I just do not like the idea of disrupting variants in Magic in the way Companion has. I just can't say it enough. So an idea I had, instead of having the card start as a companion in the companion zone, is similar. Let's make it more similar to Partner, where when you bring up one, it's going to bring the other. It's like the hero and sidekick. When you see one, you have to expect the other. To me, that makes sense. But maybe when it comes into play, you get to look for your companion, put it in the companion zone, and have it there ready to be cast when you need it, as opposed to just having it start there to start the game. That, to me, that feels so much harder to balance and make work, as opposed to just letting one creature pull another. To me, that feels more on flavor, as well as easier to balance than what we currently have right now, which is something that I just really don't want to see anymore. Or instead of it just pulling something from your deck, make it have to pull from the sideboard. Why not have us engage more with the sideboard and think about what's in there, as opposed to just really largely ignoring it, especially if we're going to push the best of one format, which is another idea I'm clearly a huge fan of. Not. My point is, I think that there's a way that we can bring some consistency, but not have it be over the top like we've really seen with Companion in its current state. And I can keep talking about this, but I suppose I just want to end with the point, or maybe a vote, that you don't need to bring Companion level powerful stuff into a set to make me interested in it. Selfishly, if it's a good limited environment, that's all I need. But I would also vote for, let's reuse mechanics that we've already seen work and that people enjoy. Let's flesh those out. Let's get people new cards to play with in Standard and other constructed formats, as well as in Commander. Why not allow us to use what Wizards has done really well and keep building on that while we're coming up with new ideas, instead of always having to pull so many new ideas from the backlog? Just a vote for that. A vote for, I'm okay hitting the brakes a little bit and enjoying the scenery, smelling the flowers a bit more than what we've been doing this last year and a half, 2 years. So with that, I still think Ikoria has been an incredibly fun set to play. I think there's a ton of great work that went into it. I really do appreciate everything y'all have done over there at Wizards to give us a great set. Ikoria has been super fun to draft. I still blame most of my losses on the Arena Shuffler, but I've really enjoyed it. It's a great set. I'm kind of bummed that Companion, being what it is, has overshadowed or maybe put a shadow over the set. Don't think any of y'all should take that to heart. I think it really has been, Ikoria has been a great success in the world and a great addition to the world of Magic. So that brings us to the end. The question, what about you all? What do you think about Companion? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Are you indifferent about it? Have you never heard of it? Don't know how that's possible or how you would have made it through this video to this point if you had not heard of it. Wherever you may be on it, on that, I guess, spectrum of Companion lovability, let me know down in the comments. And if you do want to pick up some Companion cards, you can check out Card Kingdom because they sponsor the channel. They have awesome cards, awesome customer service, anything you need. They're your companion when buying Magic cards. That was so bad. But you can use my affiliate link in the description below. That'd really help out the channel. Let them know I sent you. Thank you so much for doing that. Thank you to Card Kingdom for sponsoring the channel. Thank you to my patrons for being here, for just being awesome, for sponsoring the channel as well. I really do appreciate it. Thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next video. Take it easy. Peace.